Okay, honey.
Right then, at this point, I need to start humming because I can't play the intro video. So, da 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 da. Hi, and welcome to the Global Star Party. A little haphazard tonight because clouds are being evil. Cursed clouds. So, if you're wondering what the heck you've tuned into, this is not a disorganized array of people. This is a group of people who gather together pretty much every weekend, in fact, every weekend so far, to share live views of the sky, whether that be at nighttime or daytime, and look at objects in space, whether it be the sun or distant globular clusters. Unfortunately tonight, though, we have mostly got clouds. But Andrew is going to bring us some live sun, at least, and of course we may have to discuss a little bit about Pluto too, because I think that was in the contract for getting Sophia on the show this evening. Welcome to the party. You can interact with us using the Q&A app. If you're watching this on the event page or on YouTube, there is a little Q&A button. You can click on that. You can say hello. You can make requests of clouds, because the live is a little lacking this evening, but we do have a lot of great images that have been taken over the past week and added to the Flickr group. We can talk about some of the images, go into the details of the science, we can look at some sunspots live, and, well, we'll see what happens. You never know, clouds may clear up. Fingers crossed. If anyone out there knows an anti-cloud dance, we'd appreciate you doing a little jig right now. So welcome to the show, and I shall introduce who we have with us today. Now, Dylan is off skiving. I think he's having to, figure out the whole narrow field of view imaging thing, and I've pestered him too much about that hyperstar, so he's run away, or he's going to the desert or something. So instead, I have Sophia, who I have to mention as soon as she's glugging a can of something. So, hello, Sophia.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. You are my co-host, co-conspirator, and we'll be bringing the science, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, welcome. We also have Andrew, who is our live guy. He says. Now, you see, technology hates us because Andrew is talking, but there's no sound. But we do have the sun. You see, look, he's got the sun. That's a sneak peek. We also have Grant, and I think formerly designated Minion last time he was on the show. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, Grant and Kim from the Tilcarn Observatory in Cornwall. Unfortunately, the observatory roof's closed at the moment, Chris. We'll keep an eye and hopefully get some moon later on.
Awesome. Well, I shall cross fingers, touch wood, and sip coffee. And we also have Paul, who failed to sacrifice a goat this evening. So Paul has currently got great views of clouds. Are they space clouds, Paul?
No, they're just regular, normal, boring clouds.
Oh, curses. But, thank you for joining us and trying. And, hey, you never know. There might be a gap somewhere out there, maybe. That looks like a lot of cloud, though.
Let's hope it goes away.
We shall cross fingers. If not, I'm sure you've got some kind of awesome backup image that you can share with us. And we also have Russell.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, and where are you coming from this evening?
Nova Scotia, Canada.
So, a little warmer than England, then, I'm guessing.
Yes. Clouds.
Yes, clouds. But you do great lunar photography, and as demonstrated by that picture you're sharing with us at the moment. So, that's we can look at pictures, we can talk space. There may possibly, hopefully, be Mike joining us later in the show if the weather plays ball with him and he can bring us Saturn. But for now, I'm afraid to say, well, you just have to look at the sun. I know. Look at that. It's the sun. Now then, Andrew, where's those sunspots? Ah, there we go. Now this is a white light view of the sun. So this is every wavelength of light coming in from the sun, but dimmed down using a white light filter. And the sun has been pretty quiet recently. In fact, so quiet that even getting a sunspot on its disk has been pretty tricky. So, but you can see it's live. This is definitely some live sun. You can see it's live because it's wobbling around a little bit, which is wind/seeing conditions. Mostly seeing conditions, I reckon, from the looks of it. So, Andrew, you were very, very quiet, I think, due to a microphone problem. So, I don't know if you can tell us how you're imaging this at all. But what is confusing me at the moment is sunspots normally come in very close pairs, and I'm not seeing that with these. So,
Right, unmute the microphone, it might help.
Awesome. So, how are you bringing this view to us?
Okay, this is through a 900 NC webcam, Philips 900 NC webcam. Just going through an 8-inch f4 telescope. And this will be the last sort of view through my Philips webcam because I'm getting a ASI 120mm this week, hopefully. So hopefully it's a little bit clearer view next time. So
I was going to say, I mean, this is for everyone watching webcams. If you've got a webcam and a telescope, it doesn't take much jerry-rigging to get these things to be pluggable into a telescope, and you can do this kind of stuff. Which brings me to a point. If you are, well, from anywhere in the world really, and you'd like to stream your views live, if you've got the gear, come join us. Bring some views. I mean, this is pretty awesome. I mean, you're looking at the sun right now from the comfort of wherever you're sat, live. Well, actually, I suppose technically not quite live. It's 8 minutes ago from the sun's point of view, but you know, pretty live. But yes, the ASI 120mm is a mono camera, and it's a, well, from my experience of using it, pretty good camera. Recommended. I think you're going to get some great use out of it.
well, hopefully.
Although I did see Attic have just released a video astronomy camera, although they're going to be releasing one, which I hate to imagine how expensive that is, but I imagine quite a bit more than an ASI 120mm. So yeah, this is an expensive hobby when you start buying cameras. Now, Sophia, what do you know about the sun? Can you tell us about the sun? Or is your field of expertise a bit further away, possibly, as well?
Sure. So, although, like, I guess sunspots do appear, because you were saying that you were surprised, sunspots do appear in pairs usually, and when they do, they have sort of like opposite magnet, like sort of magnetic fields, if you will, but they don't always appear in pairs. So, and what you see there, and the reason why they look dark, is because you have like the sun, which is about 5,800 Kelvin, whereas sunspots are like about 3,000 to 4,000 Kelvin. So they're a lot colder. It's hot. It's definitely hot, but it's a lot colder, so they look a lot darker, and that's why you see that. It's kind of like what happens is that the magnetic field gets really twisted up, and then it bursts, and then you have this spot, and that's why you see that.
Say sunspots have this lovely kind of three-dimensional depth to them when viewed with hydrogen alpha light. But I mean, I was going to say you've got a nice seeing there as well. It's pretty good, nice and sharp. I mean, sunspots as well. I mean, this, to give you a sense of scale. I mean, we're looking at details on the sun which are still about what Earth-sized is a good way of describing it. I mean, I don't know exactly how big these ones are, but they are huge features. I mean, if you were to you know, be flying above one, it would be an incredible sight. Huge. Although the sun is rather large at 110-ish Earths across. So,
you got it. Yep, 109, 110. So, hi. I guess
hey!
We got Thad working.
All right.
The Thad has arrived, and with voice activation achieved. So just rebooted the Thad. It's fine. So joining us as well tonight, we have Stuart Foreman. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hey,
good to see everybody. This is my first global star party. I'm an old veteran of the virtual star parties from way back, and it's the first one I've been able to make of this one. So I'm glad to see it back in action.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And where are you joining us from? Sorry.
I'm coming from the San Francisco Bay Area, where it's still nice and sunny out. You can see Here's my astrophoto of the day. See?
Live sun.
Yeah, live sun. Here's my live sun. There it is.
Awesome. Awesome. And we also have
So,
Brad. Oh, well, Stuart's also frozen in a beautiful pose then for a second. Oh, he's back. Hello, Thad.
Okay.
Hello.
And welcome. And whereabouts are you joining us from?
Long Beach, California. So, home to Snoop Lion and sea lions.
I am somewhat jealous of you right now because I'm joining you from very cloudy and not so summery England. So, you know, hey, glad you could make it.
You'll probably get to see the lighting on me change throughout this as I'm facing a west window, and sunset will be coming up during the party here. So.
Awesome. Nice. And talking about sun, you see, we've got a lot of live sun going on here. We also have. I'm having some interesting, weird. There we go. There we go. It's back. There we go. Technology doesn't always like me, it seems. But yes, we're just admiring these lovely sunspots. I also have Ben, who's joined us in Q&A, and he's going, "Hey, nice to see Stuart and Thad from the old VSPs."
Hi, guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Now, I am going to click on Paul because he seems to be showing us a comment. Check that out. Now, this isn't live. This is cheating. But so, Paul, when did you take this, and what are we looking at here?
This was taken about 5 days ago. This is C2004 Q1 Pan-STARRS, which is currently in the southern hemisphere. This is taken over about 100 minutes.
Nice. I'm also seeing, very briefly, it looks like a satellite just nipping in the top corner there.
Yeah, it's one of those damn military satellites keeps getting in the road.
I don't think we're allowed to shoot them down for the sake of astrophotography. I think there might be people complaining about that one. So we are now. I'm
in big trouble.
Yeah, just a little bit. The fact that you can get something that high up is also probably a little concerning to various international organizations. Now, I am seeing a comet here, but I'm seeing something I don't normally expect to see, and I'm going to get all our experts here to explain this one to me and our audience. Why am I seeing two tails, guys?
Okay, well, go for it.
Okay. So one is the brighter one that extends off to the upper left is the dust tail. And so this is essentially, as the comet is kind of swinging around the sun, this is the material that's left behind as it goes around the sun. So the dust tail will largely follow the orbital path of the comet. I mean, it will get pushed back some by the solar wind. The other one, though, that heads off to the upper right, that's the ion tail, and that is directly pushed back by the solar wind. That is material that, as it streams off, becomes ionized by radiation from the sun, and so these charged particles get carried along by the charged particles that make up the solar wind. So what you get is, as the comet is coming around the sun, the direction of that it's traveling doesn't necessarily match directly away from the sun, and so you split the tails that way.
Aha! I like it. Now, you see, I've attempted to image Pan-STARRS when it was in the northern hemisphere, and admittedly, light pollution and its position in the sky made it horribly hard to get. And I got this little faint fuzzy thing with one tail, so I didn't even get the second tail. So, yeah, this is pretty an awesome view, Paul. I am envious of that view. Now, of course, comets, I believe long-period comets possibly come out from the Oort cloud, or is it closer in? Is it the Kuiper belt they come in from?
Depends. I mean, most of them are going to be from the Oort cloud, though. Long-period comets. Actually, if it's the Kuiper belt, it would take a heck of a disturbance for it to become long-period, right? Because Kuiper belt objects, when we're talking long-period, I mean we're typically talking more tan 500 or 1,000 years. And the Kuiper belt objects, I mean even Pluto's 248 years. So that's the inner edge of the Kuiper belt. Eris has an orbital period, if I remember correctly, about 500 years. Sedna has 10,000. So if it's at the distance of something like Sedna, then maybe it starts to fall into a long period comet. And Sedna's aphelion distance, if I remember correctly, is, gosh, it's enormous. It's more than 100 AU, if I remember correctly. So that would put it beyond the Kuiper belt. Kuiper belt is typically 30 to 50 AU.
That is pretty impressive. Now, of course, Little segue here, though, of course. Pluto. Now then, Sophia, you may know a little bit about Pluto. I'm guessing, it's a thing that you're familiar with a little bit.
I certainly hope so.
So I'm going to use this slightly ironically, but what's hot from Pluto recently?
Oh. Well, I will start with I'm pretty sure that many people have seen the image of Titan that was taken by the Cassini spacecraft. If I can share that with you.
You keep going about it. I will go and find an image of Titan from the Cassini spacecraft.
Right, and it's the sort of crescent-looking one,
Okay.
and it was taken, I believe, in 2012. That's not you don't have to find it, but it looks that's the one image that we think about when we see the latest image of Pluto's atmosphere, which is where you can see the entire all the haze right around it, and the principal investigator of New Horizons referred to it as New Horizons' version of Apollo Earthrise. And then when there's another image that kind of it's actually their first image of the direct image of Pluto's atmosphere. You can actually see layers of haze on it, which is like amazing, right? Because before that, I mean, we knew that there was an atmosphere, but we hadn't seen it. So it's hauntingly beautiful.
I'm going to load that image up now because that is a very pretty. There it is.
Yes, that's right. That's the one. And it's these are layered hazes that they've observed on Pluto, and they actually extend out to some 160 kilometers from its surface. So that's really surprising. And amazing. Not the fact that there's an atmosphere, but the hazes, and how far they extend. So, what's I guess another thing that they had found is the pressure, sorry. Let me just go back again. Now with the hazes, they had thought that that the haze particles would form closer to the surface of Pluto, but they're actually forming farther up, which is another surprise. So
I was gonna say, if you type in Pluto images at the moment, there's like a whole plethora on Google now of beautiful pictures of Pluto. When you consider it's just a few pixels not so long ago, that is quite wonderful to check out. So anyone wants to check out Pluto pictures, just Google Pluto at the moment, and you've got all sorts of amazing pictures which are first for humanity to see. There's a nice one actually. I like that picture. That has some detail on it.
Yeah, that's right. And we now know that Pluto has this sort of reddish to its surface, and this reddish hue actually comes from the haze particles in its atmosphere. They somehow get they get radiation from the sun, and then they get sort of turned into tholins, and then the tholins end up falling to the ground, and this is where we believe that the reddish color that Pluto has is from.
So you're effectively saying it snows on Pluto, kinda.
Like
the smoggy snow.
We wouldn't go. Yeah, yeah. Like these are really they're particles. So and they're I wouldn't go that far.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're not going to have Christmas jingles on Pluto then.
No, it'd be more like
Maybe Tholen snows. Go for it.
if the atmosphere over LA started to solidify and fall to the ground. Yeah, we don't really want to experience that.
That's right.
Well, I was going to say...
Paul is sharing a Pluto animation that he did.
Ooh. I'm going to click on Paul then. Haha, look at that. And of course, that is how it was kind of discovered, I suppose. Is the good way of discovering it. 2 plates taken separately and then blink between them, and you see Pluto move.
And I got really geeky with this one, and I took this image, and we were almost at opposition, and so I used it and triangulated and used trigonometry to try to determine the distance to Pluto, and I was actually reasonably close, within, what was it, Paul, about 50 million miles or something like that. You know, it wasn't too bad. Just by looking at his image scale and remembering all my trig.
Oh, yeah. You see,
Really good, especially considering astronomically 50. Well, not even astronomically, 50 million over 3 billion.
Yeah, it might have been 500 million. I don't know, something like that. But it was within an order of magnitude. So I was geekily pleased about that.
And of
You
course,
should be. That's way better than cosmology did until about 20 years ago. So
I was going to say to be within, was it, a few million miles or so? Well, 50 million miles or so is good. In a few billion miles, that's not bad.
Yeah, I can go back and look through the emails and find out exactly what it was. Hey, Kix.
That's impressive. That is some clever. Yeah, trigonometry and me were never best friends.
Yeah. You mentioned comet pan-stars. I'm just sharing a photo that I did of comet pan-stars with the crescent moon. It's a little out of focus because I was kind of eyeballing it with a camera, but yeah, if you see it, you can kind of see the comet there on the horizon.
It's very similar to the image I got of pan-stars, and again, you can see that tail. It's definitely a comet, but I love comets actually. This is something I'd like to actually photograph in much more detail. But no, I'm going to check on that.
Which pan-stars is this? Because this is like Lovejoy is now.
Yeah. And let me pull it up.
Because I think this looks very similar to one I shot in March of 2013.
Yeah, that's about right, actually.
Okay.
That's about when I did it.
Yeah, that's the same kind of era
Nice
for
display
me.
back then. Real nice.
And I'm also going to click on Andrew again because he's bringing us live, but he's bringing us a live of a different kind.
Yep, this is Venus during the daytime in very poor conditions. There's a cloud about, and it's quite windy as well, so it's not doing too badly, the old atmosphere there.
I was going to say, if you consider that poor conditions, I'll have to show you a recent Venus attempt on my part where it was basically just porridge, just wobbling porridge. Because, oh yeah, I know, I could barely actually make out that it was a crescent. It was that bad, but that's pretty sharp actually. I'm hoping you're going to capture some data from whilst viewing this because that's pretty nice.
It's currently 42 degrees above the horizon, so it's pretty much almost on the meridian, I would say.
Nice, really nice. And of course, Venus showing a lovely crescent there, which was one of the first clues that we go around the sun and the sun doesn't go around us. Because shadows.
Not necessarily the crescent phase, because according to Ptolemy's model, Venus should always appear in a crescent phase. The thing was that it showed up as a half, and it showed up as a gibbous, and it showed up as almost full, and that's not possible because this is what Ptolemy thought. All right, so we got the sun, and you got the Earth, and you have the sun going around the Earth, according to Claudius Ptolemy. But to explain why Venus and Mercury always stayed near the sun in the sky, you drew a line from the Earth to the sun and kept them on this circle that was in between the two. And if that's the case for the lighting arrangements, it should always appear as a crescent. And if any, well, I guess none of my students from this upcoming semester will watch it because they don't even know they're taking my class yet. But, huge point to remember that this was the first proof when Galileo observed these that Venus had to orbit the sun. It completely threw out Ptolemy's model once we saw, oh wait, it can't be gibbous in Ptolemy's model. It can't be nearly full in Ptolemy's model. And, oops, we lost it there. But, yeah, that's, again, it's, moved us out of the center, made humanity less important entity that we are as far as the universe is concerned. The first step away from our hugely egotistical view of ourselves.
More egotistical, not I. However, I'm going to say, Andrew, is Jupiter about, and can you find it in the daytime? Just, you know, sorry, you're the live guy. I have to put pressure on you now.
Yeah, okay, I'm just trying to find it now. You got me on the spot there.
Yeah, right. Sorry, it's one of those things. I like to be occasionally evil. But I'm a little excited here because obviously Sophia is, you know, a very smart lady who knows all about the Plutos and what have you. Thad is just a walking, talking encyclopedia of all sorts of knowledge. So I'm going to share a picture I took because I'm the host, so I can, haha. And then well, you guys can describe what we're looking at, and I'm just going to enjoy it because it's like having my picture. I vocalized. I'm a little excited right now. Right then, so starting my screen share. Anyone that follows my Google Plus will know what this is because, you know, I've been doing it for a bit now. So clicking on me and
I know what that is.
Yeah, come on then, folks. Just gonna sit back and enjoy this for a second.
All right, so NGC 6960.
Yep.
This is the western part of the Veil Nebula. If you were looking in this part of the sky, I'm trying to think when the detonation, it's a supernova remnant. So again, if you were looking into the constellation Cygnus, what would this been? I think they estimate maybe about 10,000 years ago. There would have been an extremely bright star, brighter than Deneb, brighter than Vega, as it was likely a Type 1A and just detonated. They've never found a remnant other than the gas from it. They've never found a neutron star or a black hole. Well, it would be tougher to find a black hole, but they've never found a neutron star or anything that seems to be left over from the supernova. So pretty sure that it's a Type 1A. And so you get these kind of thin filaments around the edge here. Now, if you took an X-ray picture of this part of the sky, you would see the full bubble. But in visible light, it's just kind of these thin wisps around the outside that kind of mark the outer edge of the expansion from the supernova explosion. So, and the colors, this is one I've had trouble getting why we get the colors. I mean, blue is typically dust. And if you see that bluish color, you're looking at dust that's scattering off of that's scattering light from nearby stars. The red, I mean, is hydrogen alpha, right? Hydrogen's primary emission line, but there always seems to be this kind of purplish hue, and I'm not sure if it's just the combination of the two or if that's real. And so I'm not sure what element or combination of stuff, other than just mixing red and blue, right? Pigment-wise, right? Pigment-wise, that gives you purple. Light-wise, red and blue should give you like a magenta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to look it up.
Yeah,
this one, the colors always kind of baffled me a little bit.
Now, I'm going to just give some details, obviously, because I took this image, so I can give some rough details as to it. The eggy stars are purely down to my alignment and guiding not being quite right, because guiding on a fork mount is, as I keep saying every show, horrific. But the red light, as Thad already mentioned, is the hydrogen alpha data that I captured, and the blue is oxygen 3. It was the filter that primarily showed that up. And then I kind of made a false green channel to kind of give it those natural colors, which is kind of a combination of the two channels with some fancy Photoshop trickery in between. And of course, the bright star in the foreground, bright because it's way, way closer than the rest, I'm guessing, is 52 Cygni, which is apparently, because I Wikipedia'd this earlier, is a triple star system, apparently. I don't know if I can take Wikipedia's word on that, but apparently it is. I think it said a spectral binary or something like that. I don't know, but very bright and really annoying when you're trying to photograph something and trying to reduce glare. But yes, I was able to take this on the blue moon. I was one of the few people that wasn't posting pictures of the moon to Facebook and everywhere else with a tint of blue. And then for some reason everyone on Facebook was like, Chris, why didn't I see the blue moon? Well, you did. It's just a full moon that happens rarely. Well, not so rarely. It happens every 28 days or so, but you know, twice in the same month. which I believe the next one isn't until 2018. So yeah, I was one of the few guys trying out narrowband imaging with the full moon. Turns out narrowband imaging is pretty awesome because it kind of gets rid of most of the glare. Although the oxygen 3 data, which is the blue end of the spectrum, I found the contrast was lacking because blue light gets scattered around our atmosphere way more. At least that's my reckoning. Experts, if you want to correct me, or am I roughly right there?
What's your camera that you're using?
I'm using the Attic 414
Okay.
EX. So
All right. So the colors that we're seeing are what aren't they're not real colors then. You assign them.
yeah.
Okay.
The blue. I'm under the impression that oxygen 3 wavelength comes in primarily from the blue end of the spectrum.
Oxygen 3 is a bit greener than that, though. If you look at like the center of the Ring Nebula or the center of a lot of planetary nebula, oxygen's going to be the last thing to leave lower mass star as it dies. So, for instance, the center of the ring that's oxygen 3. So here's a shot of the same object that I was able to get during new moon rather than full moon. So the wispiness is a little bit more extended there, and this is with a color camera, so this wasn't kind of assigning colors to anything. This was, pretty much
Nice.
true calibration if you could make your eyes super sensitive.
Yeah, and I have a hydrogen alpha of exactly the same that Thad does.
Look at that, lovely.
Yeah. So it's it's a gorgeous. It's also called a witch's broom because it sort of looks like the Harry Potter on a broom with the stars. Harry.
I do love these names. Dylan is a great proprietor of making his own names up for various nebulas, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster still remains one of my favourite names he's given a nebula. One of those things. I mean, would it be overly dramatic to say that we are looking at the edge of a giant shockwave?
That would not be overly dramatic. That's that's about as far as it's pushed in space, and it's that kind of energy that's still dumping into this gas.
Yeah, and it would be I just wanted to add that it would be the shockwaves that actually produce that sort of wispiness that you see, as well.
I just every time. I mean, I don't know for our viewers as well, but and for everyone here, but you just kind of look at it and go, that's a shockwave traveling through space, and it's huge. And every time it's just like, and I'm going to use Thad's earlier sign language when he was all muted, but it's kind of one of those mind-blown kind of moments. Does anyone? I mean, the Crab Nebula, I'm under the impression we see expanding over the however many years that it's been photographed. Is this shockwave moving quick enough so that perhaps in 50, 100 years' time we will see it in a different position, or is this one going to still, because of the distances involved, look relatively static?
The distances involved, probably the time scale that you're saying, 50 to 100 years, you might be able to see some change. It'd be great to pull up like the Palomar plates for this part of the sky and check, because I mean, those were largely taken in the 50s, so now it's been 65 years, 60 to 65 years since this would have been imaged by them, and we can make comparisons. So if anybody can find the Palomar library online quickly, or maybe we can edit that in as a picture to upload to the party afterwards. Comparison over 50 years with the Crab, it's amazing that the detonation became visible about 960 years ago or so, and that over just a span of 20 years, with a good enough photograph, you can see changes and expansion. But the Veil, you're talking a much, much longer time span, and so the interstellar medium should be slowing down that shock wave. Good question. Good question. It'd be good to do some comparison and see if we can see it.
Now, I have been for a little bit now. I have clicked on to Andrew, and you would have briefly seen, I presume, daytime Jupiter, although he appears to be suffering from clouds and glowiness. But there was briefly some Jupiter.
I had Jupiter in the sights, but Cloud's got other ideas at the moment, so
you see clouds. They are really pretty on Venus, really toxic too on various other planets, but they're so annoying on this planet. They may bring rain and stuff, but yeah, so annoying. Now, Grant, on the other hand, as well, has suffered the clouds, and this is why we're looking at his telescope, well, telescopes, all parked up indoors.
I think he's about to go and have a look-see and see if we can move the webcam around to do a little bit of telescope and equipment viewing.
Give me a thumbs up if you've got it.
There we go.
We do like a little bit of hardware viewing. Now, this is, you know, when you've got clouds, we can at least look at the stuff that we take, you know, photographs of stuff in space with. So we have, well, Grant, I'll let you, you guys describe what we're looking at here.
Right. That is, bearing in mind, I'm communicating with him through a door at the moment. That's the main setup there. That's the EQ6 ProMount Skywatcher that we've got there, with a large quantity of scopes and bits and bobs attached to it. So we've got his baby, which is the Takahashi TSA 120mm there. Attached to that is the F60 guide scope, and then we've also got, what else have you got there? The Malingham Extreme.
Yeah, not there.
You've got attached there. It's how much can we possibly get onto one mount, really. Have you got the triple APO there as well? That's the Telescope Service 80mm triple APO. He'll move on to the big boy now. I must admit, when he first got the Takahashi, I did find him stroking it furtively. The big boy's the Meade LX200 14-inch. That's pier mounted and on a wedge, as you can see there. Attached to the back end of that is his SBIG STT 8300 with rather comprehensive filter wheel on that. That's got LRGB, hydrogen alpha, oxygen 3 and sulfur 2. So yes, that's a nice setup.
60mm.
And they're up on the top, kind of a little bit of an excessive guide scope, is the Telescope Service 60mm. That's the quad, isn't it?
Yeah,
Astrograph. So yes.
So yeah, imaging the sky. I encourage anyone and everyone to look up and check it out. And admittedly, that was some pretty serious hardware, and I'm a little bit envious right now. But you don't have to have all that kind of fancy all-singing, all-dancing craziness with trip hazards galore coming out the back of it, because cables are horrific, especially at night time in the cold. I have knocked a few things that I really regret not knocking. But if you've got a camera, any kind of camera, you can photograph something in the night sky, whether it be a snapshot of the moon through your mobile phone, to taking a compact camera or an SLR and pointing at the sky and doing some long exposure. You can, generally speaking, enjoy the night sky in a whole bunch of ways that aren't that expensive. In fact, a couple of shows ago, we had some photographic emulsion in the back of a tin can with a hole in the front to do extremely long exposure, and you can watch the sun change position as the seasons go by. So you don't really need to do all craziness. And even to look at the night sky, you've got eyeballs. You can see stuff that's ridiculously far away. I always used to, this terrible joke my father used to say is like, I could never see quite far enough. He says, "Can you see the sun?" "Yes." "Well, how far do you really want to see then?" It's a terrible joke, but it's true. It is true. It is, although safety advice: never directly look at the sun with your eyeballs or any piece of optical equipment, because bad things will happen. If you've seen what happens to ants with a magnifying glass, it's the same thing with your retinas. It doesn't hurt, but you can't see anything afterwards, and that kind of sucks. So if you're going to look at the sun, do it carefully with the correct gear, because otherwise, But if you do have the correct gear, the sun is beautiful to check out, and you don't even need that much complex stuff. You can do it using projection and bits of paper, and there are lots of ways of doing it. And I'm going to click on Andrew again, because I can see Jupiter. Check it out. There it is. Jupiter, massive planet, quite bright, so bright you can sit in the daytime.
I mean, it's got to be within a few degrees of the sun. It's going through conjunction, so.
Yeah.
I've actually got a off-axis what do you call it? A hole at the moment, so stop the sun from coming into the tube of the telescope. So this is only going through 40 millimeters of aperture. So
That sounds kind of dangerous.
it's not too bad when you got the aperture mask on.
Well, thank you for risking eyeballs and telescope and camera to bring us live Jupiter. I'm going to repeat it again. Don't do it, folks. Now, I'm going to click on Paul here, who's showing a beautiful view of a comet and a background galaxy and a globular. We can bring that back. Cluster. But Paul did actually manage to melt holes in lens caps in one of the GSPs that we did a while back, because he was there darting around, changing gear around to give us all these fantastic views, and yeah, melted holes in plastic. But Paul, please tell us, when did you take this photo? How the heck did you take this photo? And wow, that's really pretty.
This is from last year. This is 2014 Q2 Lovejoy, passing the globular cluster M79.
And go on then, because Thad and Sophia are both almighty knowledgeable beings. The background galaxy is... No pressure.
Yeah.
It depends on when it was taken, and I know the night he took it, and I can go back and try to find it, because there was a time when this particular comet was passing right by that globular cluster, and I remember that night because I wanted to image it, but I was away, and so I missed it.
Now,
But I can go back and look for it.
it has a very distinct green hue to it. I wasn't expecting that. In fact, to be fair, I don't know what I was expecting color-wise from a comet, but it's very, very green. I'm assuming that's because of the nature of the gases coming off it.
Yeah, and this.
Okay,
this
I'm actually really curious to know what that galaxy is, which one it is now, because I.
Paul, do you remember the day you took it? I can go back on. I can go grab my atlas and find it. You have the date?
Yeah, not off the top of my head, no.
Well,
Right.
I can
I'll be
hear
back.
rummaging. I can hear
I'm
rummaging.
sorry, my phone. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. Well, that is a really, really, really epic view. I like that.
I remember seeing Lovejoy as well. I saw Lovejoy through the scope at the observatory, but you know, because the scope is so big, right? We could only see the coma, but it was very like you can see the green, so it was a really nice one to check out.
And now,
Picture of Lovejoy from this passage this past January. Let's see if I can find that. How about in the meantime, though? I was able to get a new focuser last week and forced me to do some collimation. And so I was able to get that.
I shall click on you. Oh, hello, Saturn.
Yeah. So not very high in the sky for me, right? This is about 35 degrees off the horizon at its highest. But I have the good fortune of being able to shoot over the Pacific Ocean. So the seeing tends to settle down pretty nicely most nights looking south for me. And collimation does wonders for sharpening up an image, making sure the mirror is making sure all the optics is aligned. And never really had done it before with my Schmidt-Cassegrain, but quite pleased with being forced to do so by things getting knocked around a little bit by installing a focuser.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've gone through the collimation. It's really necessary, and I found it is really useful, but it's one of those things where you find yourself going, I'm fiddling around my telescope, and it's a perfectly clear night, and I want to be imaging, but it is worth sacrificing a clear night to get that collimation right, because that's lovely. I mean, you can see the darkened kind of northern storm. The Cassini division is really obvious in this photo. It's lovely. And you can see the lovely banding on Saturn. And its shadow. I love one of my favorite things about Saturn is to me it's a subtle detail. I mean, obviously everyone goes, oh, look at the rings. What I actually like the most is that shadow being cast from the sphere of Saturn across the back onto the rings there. That's one of those things that I just like. It's a strange thing to like, I know, because those rings are majestic and everything, but it's that subtle little detail that gives it that kind of 3D feel to it.
Yes, I was just gonna say it gives it more of a three-dimensional feel when you see that.
Now let me put it back.
Also to focus it where you can actually see the Cassini division, plus that the shading that you're talking about, the shadow that's cast across it, really brings it out and makes it look exactly like what you said, three-dimensional. It's really nice.
To say, I mean, and you've got good seeing, good focus, and good collimation when the Cassini division comes out, because it's one of those kind of tricky kind of things that you can grade your Saturn image by. If you can see the Cassini division, Russell's actually commented it, because Russell, I think, is muted or has maybe some microphone issues, but yes, he says it's weird because the shadow is an hour back in time. Which is, I suppose, yes, this is the one thing that it comes to astronomy. Whenever you're looking at anything, even the moon, the galaxy, by the way, is NGC 1886, according to Paul. I know it well.
Beat me to it.
I was going to say, it's one of those things, I love it. It's just that little sharp, you know it's not a star because it's not the right shape, and, in fact, anything fuzzy in the background. If you're ever taking a space photo and you see something fuzzy in the background, you've either got a dust bunny or a galaxy. So, I
wouldn't have known that galaxy, so I don't feel...
Yeah, I'm familiar with Andromeda, Triangulum, all the big, famous, well-named ones, but...
It actually almost looked to me like the Needle galaxy, which is, I'm not sure which catalog that is. Thad, do you know?
Needle's NGC 4565, and
okay.
Probably the best shot I've ever taken is of the Needle. I can bring that up too. I mean, I took it this past March.
Yeah.
Is that reason enough for the show?
Awesome.
And, I have the same comment that Paul did, actually, right up, if you see it.
Yes.
Paul got me to image it. This is the same thing imaged about a week later. He was pointing north, I was pointing south.
That is lovely. Comments, so pretty.
That's amazing.
And this was a shot of Lovejoy that I got back in January, as it was passing near the Pleiades, and you can kind of, sort of, a little bit make out the California Nebula over to the other side of the image, but the Pleiades. And
I see it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was getting down into the light pollution of LA, so it was getting down into that light dome by the time I got set up and started shooting this. So
what did you take this with, Thad? Do you remember?
This was a Nikon D80, and what was it, the 18 to 200 millimeter lens set open pretty wide.
Cool.
To be able to get this, and I think that dark nebula. I'm going to have to check to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that dark nebula that's above the Pleiades in there, I believe that is real. I kept trying to edit it out and look for it in other things, but it does seem to be that does actually exist and wasn't just a defect in the optics. So.
I mean, I'm just going to give a shout out to Dylan here. This is right up his street because he loves the wide field, so because of his hyperstar setup. So yeah, this is pretty a wide field view. Now I've got a couple of people in Q&A who've asked. The blue moon was yesterday. Did anyone see it? I saw it. I cursed it. Did anyone else see it?
I did see it as well. I'm actually going to mention, I was at the Women in Physics conference, and we had a boat cruise, and I saw it on the boat, so it was really low on the horizon and very yellow, not blue. So yeah, it was nice. I mean, it's just a full moon, so but it's cool. Yeah.
I was going to say it's if you believe Facebook, the blue moon is not only bright blue, it's also a signifier of the end of the world. But I'm not.
Oh goodness.
I know, right? Yeah, only two more blue moons, and it's the end times, folks. So
it's the end of the world.
And you said that the next end time is what, in 2018?
Yes, yeah, that's the next signifier.
What isn't an end time signifier at this point? It's like let's make clickbait. Everything. Oh look, the sun is rising today. Well, that means it's going to set, and setting is the end of the world. Let's go back to like before even the Greek astronomers had any kind of idea of what was going on.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, I was going to say,
whatever the reference to the sun is taking it away from us again. Well, let's see people flip out in 2017 when we have the next total solar eclipse go across the U.S. and see what they have to say about that.
I am actually quite excited to see what happens to all the crazies and Twitter at the same time when that happens. I'm actually a little bit excited for that one, to be honest with you.
If we throw a few conspiracy theorists in as well at the same time, it will be a nice mix.
I'm actually tempted to see if I can persuade Kevin Franklin, who isn't with us tonight, but he takes some fantastic close-up views of the moon. I am actually quite tempted for him to maybe Photoshop an obelisk just in the background somewhere and see what happens. From a reputable astronomer, man finds obelisk, and we can all back him up on it and see how far it goes. Now, talking about space photos and what we get, I'm going to screen share something which I keep going on about, and it is really awesome, and I'm loving what we're getting submitted to it. Now, the Global Star Party has a Flickr group, which you should be able to see hopefully now. Now, this Flickr group is where we, everyone who's on this panel here at the moment, although I'm going to persuade Thad to perhaps submit some images too, if he hasn't already. I haven't double-checked. I'm terrible at researching. But this is the Global Star Day Flickr group, where you can add your photos to our group and also check them out, because there's some beautiful photos in here. I'm going to click immediately on that one because that's the International Space Station, which is pretty badass. I'm going to actually embiggen it, is the expression, I think. There we go. That's the space station, photographed from Earth with the telescope. That's pretty awesome. So thank you, Devin, for putting that one on the group. But yeah, it's well worth checking out. Some brilliant pictures people are submitting, and if you put your images on here, we will give them a shout out on the show. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these quickly, because, well, Dylan's not here, so I really ought to put up one of his pictures. Now, that is the Cat's Paw Nebula, although, you know, I'm sure people can give it other names because, well, let's be honest, you know, these things are pretty loose for interpretation, but this one does look like a cat's paw. And this is a hydrogen alpha image. I think he's also mixed some LRGB in there as well. And I don't know much about the Cat's Paw Nebula. I know it's pretty looking from this photo.
Well, it's on the internet, so it's, I mean, cats belong on the internet. So this just goes right along with that.
It fits in quite nicely.
Chris, if you actually look at the cat's paw, if you look at the actual bit below it, it looks like the head of a seahorse swimming towards us. Can anybody else see that?
Now, I'm screen sharing, so you can't see this, but I am tilting my head in various directions to try and figure that one out.
Just have it the way it is now, and it looks like a seahorse's head. You can see that, can you?
Yeah, definitely. Seahorse Nebula.
Okay, I think someone's putting my leg here right now.
No. If you actually look at the bottom part there of the cat's paw, the black bit to the right looks like a seahorse's head.
Oh, yeah. So swimming to the left.
Yeah, swimming towards us, yeah.
So anyone that's still with us or watching the show in the Q&A app, if you can see the seahorse, because I can't, everyone else let me know, and then I'll just go stare at this
I see
for a
it.
while.
Yeah, drop back a little bit.
I see it.
Thank you, Sophia. We're not going mad here.
It took a while, but I see it. Yeah.
I need more caffeine, I think. Right, before I go crazy trying to figure out where the seahorse is in that photo, we also have, we have some sunspots from Andrew. Check that out. You see AR 2394 and 2393. They name these so majestically.
There you go. That's really nice because you've got the umbra and penumbra there, which I always explain to people looks like a sort of like negative fried egg It's the best way to describe
Yeah,
what
with
a
the umbra,
sunspot looks
that's
like.
what's like the yolk, and the grey area is the penumbra. Yeah.
Which I believe is again temperature differences within the surface of the sun. Which you know when you're photographing this. I mean the fact. I mean this is always something that astounds me is that amateurs around the world these days can take photos which, if you look back at old textbooks and space photos, are way better than what was being taken by professionals a while back. So technology, it's awesome.
It's kind of unbelievable with sunspots. I mean, they look dark, but if you could take a sunspot and move it off of the sun onto the dark background of the sky, it would shine brilliantly because, I mean, the background of the sun is about 5,500 Celsius. Your penumbra of the sunspot is going to be about 4,900, 5,000 Celsius, and the darkest area is going to be about 4,500 Celsius. That's the same as, for instance, let me think, the star like Aldebaran has about that surface temperature. So not visible now unless you're getting up just before sunrise. But yeah, that shines pretty brilliantly. So
yeah, that's insane when you consider the temperatures and the sizes involved. The sun is one of those, again, if you ever want to get people into astronomy, and you've got a solar telescope, brains can be blown. And eyeballs can be burned. So, generic safety warning. Don't. Oh, look! There's a moon, and it's got a tint of blue. Blue moon.
No, I was out imaging the moon as well. So, fighting cloud.
Ah, yes. So I am going to say once again, check out the group. We have some fantastic pictures being submitted by people. We got some Saturn. We've got daytime planets, which Andrew was bringing to us, and Stargazer has brought us various things from the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Saturn. I'm not sure what the middle one is. What's this one? I'm going to read quickly. Mercury. Good grief. The man got Mercury, which will be that one there. Check that out.
That is so cool.
Or incredibly hot, depending on how you look at it.
Hey, Paul, if you haven't shared it yet, can you share your crescent moon, crescent Venus picture? That's an awesome picture.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's a terrific picture.
It is a terrific picture. Right then, back to my ugly mug. Sorry,
he's looking for that. Just to give you an idea of what things used to look like, I found the book that I have, Astronomy in Color, published in 1971, and that was one of the best images of Saturn.
Wow.
That was the year I was born, right?
Wow.
So that Saturn is taken 44 years ago from one of the best, possible images from a professional telescope. Now you compare what we're able to do with these other telescopes in our backyards and able to stack thousands of images and average over them and take out atmospheric seeing and all that, and we actually beat the best professional telescopes from 44 years ago because of updates in software and capture techniques.
Ooh, actually, Craig is wondering if Dylan's hiding due to the fame and celebrity generated by his APOD selection. So, if anyone doesn't know, it may have been mentioned a couple of times, Dylan photographed the International Space Station silhouetted against the moon. It went crazy over the internet. He's still not quite come down from Cloud 9 off that one, and he's now been selected for APOD, which is pretty freaking awesome. So yeah, check out Dylan, Dylan O'Donnell on Google+. You can see his brilliant moon picture and his horribly wide field photos of space, because I still keep picking on him for not using like proper fields of view, nice and tight and tiny and hard to track. So yeah, I'd have to mock him for that. But yes, yeah, he probably is hiding. He's not even in the hangout now. He was in the hangout earlier, but I think either his phone signal is terrible or he has run away from screaming fans.
Well, now he's a celebrity. He'll be travelling in disguise.
Yeah, right. He can join. What's his face off MythBusters and walk around Comic-Con in disguise.
Yes.
I'm just checking out the Space Seahorse will invade during the next blue moon on the 13th. I like it. Thank you for that one,
Well,
Ronald.
now that the hangout's just about to stop, Chris, guess what's now? We've got the moon here and it's clear. Typical.
How quickly? I am willing to extend the show. If you can you how quickly can you get to the moon?
He's running. He's running now.
Okay. No pressure.
What I will do is I will mute because there could possibly be swearing going on.
Okay, we're gonna keep this a PG show. So we're gonna kill the
I will
swearing.
mute temporarily just in case.
Awesome. Now I'm going to click on Paul because he is now sharing that really, really pretty Tatooine-esque photo of the moon and Venus, both in crescent. When did you take this, Paul? I can't remember, and it is awesome, so it just deserves more discussion.
Yeah, this was a couple of weeks ago now. We did actually show it live during a global star party.
Yeah, right. We do the live, and I'm going to say this now to all our viewers. We do actually do a lot of live. We have just kind of run into this show a bit of bad luck, but we've had live Sun, live deep sky objects, live Saturn. This is why I keep putting a little plea out. If you have a telescope, if you've got a camera, whether it be a webcam or some fancy all-singing, all-dancing, cool CCD camera, if you are able to join us and it's not ridiculous o'clock and you've got many responsibilities, it'd be great to join us. You're welcome to join us in the Hangout and share and discuss your live views. We are looking for anyone, anywhere over the world. We currently do 2 time slots. Next Sunday will be what I call the Eastern Nighttime Edition, which is basically Australian nighttime, where normally Paul sacrifices a goat and then is able to get us some beautiful deep sky views of things live. Heck, he's even brought us, asteroids, so that's pretty awesome. And then this, though, is normally the nighttime American edition, although depending on which side of America you're on, because America's pretty big, and I keep forgetting that. So we currently juggle those 2 time slots. As it gets more wintry for various sides of the world, things will change around a little bit, I suspect. But if you can join us and stream a view, you're very welcome to. The more the merrier. We all love sharing our views of this. One of those things. We do it for self-pleasure. We take photographs of these things for our own enjoyment and what have you. But it's also about the sharing. And this show is all about sharing the science behind it and also the live views. Check out space from the comfort of wherever you're sat. So please, if you can, join us. And also, if you do take those photos, put them on the Flickr group. We will give them a shout out. And also, I get to enjoy it because I get to draw. Of course, Thad's just letting me know that he knows the date Paul took that photo. So it skipped. I have to jump into chat to see that. So Thad, when was that photo taken by?
It would have been July 18th or 19th, depending on which side of the date line you're on. I was with a group of my students up in Yosemite National Park. We were at Glacier Point, and we were looking at the pair during just before sunset, even before the sun had set, with binoculars from up there. Beautiful, beautiful views. So.
Yes, I need to get myself a set of binoculars. I also need to get myself a whole new mount for my telescope. Oh, astronomy, it's a horrendously beautiful and expensive hobby to get into sometimes. But as I said a couple of shows ago, if you want to bring your kids up and they don't want them to have any spare money for drugs and alcohol, astronomy is a hobby that will ensure that for a lifetime. Definitely no money for drugs and alcohol. And I'm going to click on Andrew, who's got live Sun, whilst I think Grant is possibly still running around trying to not swear too loudly and, trying to find the moon. But I will start wrapping the show up soon because it is just over an hour. And, oh, okay, I'm just going to click on that and stare at that for a little bit. Paul, why is it whenever I try to image the sun, I get clouds and you get all the active fun stuff?
Yeah, this was middle of last month when the clouds weren't here.
every time I try, it's like you put these really pretty pictures on Google Plus, and then I look at my weather forecast and go, no, I'm not going to see that. It's because of you I got a Hydrogen Alpha telescope, and now look at that. You see. So I am going to use.
Well, that's why you have clouds, because you got a telescope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm going to buy some LRGB filters next week, so I'm expecting monsoons.
Yes.
It's always the way of things. Now, I am going to try my best to roughly describe what we're looking at here, because I'm trying to buy Grant a little bit more time. This is the Sun in Hydrogen Alpha light. It's really, really pretty in Hydrogen Alpha because it's a specific wavelength of light which allows you to see atmospheric details. And look at the, oh, he's gone into the zoom as well. All right, you just keep panning around and showing off. I'm going to use a very unscientific term, but I think the Sun looks fluffy. It has a fluffiness to it. I wouldn't want to hug it. In fact, if you could get anywhere near it to hug it, you're pretty resilient, let's put it that way. And you've got prominences sticking out the edge there, these beautiful eruptions, these beautiful plasma-ness being thrown off the edge of the Sun and following magnetic loops. You've got another kind of prominence, but when viewed flat on, it's a filament, and that's on the right-hand side of the image. Now, filaments normally appear dark, so oh, I've got that one way around. Have you inverted this image? Yeah, you've got to invert it. This looks really 3D, and the Sun always looks really 3D when it's been inverted.
Yeah, filaments, sunspots are slightly cooler gas, so when viewed against the disk of the Sun, they're going to appear darker.
I mean, what also gets me, actually, if you pan back up to that lovely filament, what I like actually in this one here is, because of its three-dimensional nature and the angle we're looking at it, it looks like you could almost duck under. It looks like it has arches, and you could just, you know, Starship Voyager kind of style, just, you know, fly through it, fly underneath. It's got a lovely kind of 3D view. And if you're not a Star Trek geek and you didn't get that reference whatsoever, then I'm sorry, but what have you been doing with your lives? I'm just saying. That is really, really pretty.
We've just had cloud come over again. He was chasing it, had it, and then we've just had another cloud go right in front of it. So I think we're fighting a losing battle, unfortunately.
Well, in that case, I thank you for your valiant efforts at 10 minutes past 4 o'clock in the morning.
And I am glad I'm muted.
I am saying nothing. Now, I would like to thank Sophia for taking over from Dylan's usual position as co-host and providing the awesomes that way.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, no, thank you. You may be, well, you will be. In fact, no, I insist upon it. You will be called upon again to bring the knowledge and the Pluto and everything else in between as well. So, yeah, thank you for joining us. Now, if we want to find you on the internet, where can we find you?
Me, you can find me on Twitter at PharaohNess, which you can see on my little name tag over there. You can find me on Google+. Are you talking about, you asked me, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I was just, because Stuart just popped up on my screen here, so I was just double checking. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Google+, you can find me on Instagram. I'm pretty much... I'm findable on the internet. Yes.
You are on the socials.
Very active with social media. Yes. And you can find, I mean, my stuff on Pluto Safari if you don't have it already. Pluto Safari is going to become something really interesting. So if you don't have it, you should get it. It's going to expand, if you will. News on that will come soon.
Ooh, you tease you with the whole Pluto Safari, and of course. Yeah. I could give you a URL, but folks, if you want to find Pluto Safari, a quick Google. Let's be honest. There's no need to ask questions anymore. If you want to learn something, Google it or ask Thad. Thank you, Thad, for joining us.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's good to get back involved in this a little bit here. I like the regularity of the new format that you've all implemented here, and so hopefully I can make it back in a little bit more frequently. So I guess if you want to find me, Google Plus is a good place. On Twitter, I am AstroThad. On Flickr, I am also AstroThad. And well, my classes are full for this fall already, but if you ever are in the area for an extended time and want to take a class in astronomy at Cerritos College, then that is where I teach.
Awesome. Now, my ability with time zones, especially when it's 4 o'clock in the morning for me, is horrific. As winter progresses for us Northern Hemisphere bunch, will this kind of timing be better for perhaps you to give us some live views, maybe?
It won't be until after October. What about when does it change, Thad? That when does
first weekend of November.
Evil savings times. Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of evil savings. Yes.
Evil savings time. Yeah. The when that's over, then Thad and I can start doing some live images at this time. But for me, it's still bright out.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I'm expecting sunrise. In fact, it is actually getting lighter out there, but not because of sunset, it's because of sunrise. And I'm at work tomorrow, so this is going to be awesome fun, but it's always worth it. Now then, Stuart, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, this is good to be back.
Right?
I was, I did the other star parties for 2 years, and then and Paul and Russell have been trying to get me back into this, but it's good to be back.
Well, I'm glad they lured you in, and I'm assuming we can find you on the internet.
Correct. Is my Twitter down there? It's at Stu4Man, at S24MAN.
Well, I shall put links to everyone in the YouTube when this goes to the so you can watch it back again. My English skills seem to be slipping as it gets later and later in the morning. But thank you very, very much for joining us. Looking forward to perhaps some live later on in the year once the whole evil savings time disappears. Now, I'd also like to thank Paul, who, well, you got clouds. I'm sorry, man. You got clouds.
Yes, unfortunately.
But you are ever diligent in the trying, so I have always got to have to tip my hat to you, sir. Now, of course, we can find Paul on the Googles and on the Twitters.
And you should definitely follow Paul on Flickr. So,
yeah, I was going to say Paul.
Stuff he puts out there.
Paul's solar photos are spectacular. I keep saying this. This is the reason this man, this Kiwi, has, he's the guy that got me into solar astrophotography. And then he goes and gets himself a calcium K telescope, and my bank manager kind of just looks at me and wants to stab me repeatedly. So, yeah, thanks, Paul, for the bank account deflation, but it's worth it because his photos are an inspiration. If you want to look at the sun, his photos are the safest way of doing it, and they're really pretty. So I shall leave a link to Paul in the YouTube page, and you should definitely check out his work. And I would like to thank Grant and Minion. Who is muted currently, but he's also bringing us a live view of a blue screen. I'm curious. Is there a moon lurking somewhere?
So we're desperately trying. We're partially getting it, and they're not. There we go.
Hey!
Right in there.
My God! I know. Wait a minute.
Right, I'm going to go cloud watching and give warning.
No, it's all right. Don't bother.
Well,
Cloud watching. Keep on it.
Thank you, Grant, for bringing that. And we can find you on the internet.
Sorry, losing Mike.
Oh no. Well, we can find Grant on the internet. He managed to find the moon. That's pretty awesome.
There we have moon.
I love it. There you go, live moon. This is. Oh, look at that! Live craters with shadows.
Isn't that beautiful?
Hey.
There we go.
Isn't it pretty?
That was worth it. My God.
An hour and 16 minutes, and he got the moon. Awesome. Well, thank you. See, this is it. Perseverance, folks.
And cloud.
And cloud. See, this is why live is so much fun, because you can't control the weather, and if we could, my word, it'd be a very dry planet. Thank heavens astronomers don't have that kind of power yet. And I'd also like to thank Andrew for bringing us live Sun, live Venus, and live Jupiter.
You're welcome.
You, sir, have outdone yourself. Brilliant.
Here it comes, here it comes.
Nice work. So thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you're able to join us again. And Andrew, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Google Plus around the place, and also Twitter. I don't think I've got my address up at the moment, but I'm on there somewhere. So you can get me all over the place. Also Facebook, if you look me up.
Ooh, people use Facebook. Ooh. What next? MySpace?
Come on.
All right, I have a. Sorry, I've endured on my Facebook wall about 3 days worth of blue pictures of the moon, going, this is what the moon will look like. It upsets me greatly. The moon is never going to turn neon blue. A little blue in the daytime because the sky colour, but not neon glowing blue with wolf silhouettes in front of it. The internet's a strange place, mostly full of cats, it turns out. Well, thank you, folks, for joining us and watching the Global Star Party. Despite the clouds, we have had live views of various spacey things. Hopefully, the weather plays ball for the next few shows and we get some more live. Hey, hopefully, I brought live sun. Hopefully, one day, I'm not going to be after post-work, so I'm actually have a brain inside here somewhere. And hopefully I can also do some live views, because it turns out my camera, plus a hydrogen alpha filter, means I can get, in about 60 seconds, live views of supernova remnants and things like that. So, fingers crossed, at some point, I'm going to be able to bring live views, and Sophia can do all the hosting. Hey, look, even Dylan, walking around in a desert, has managed to join us as we're saying goodbye. That's just cheeky, Dylan. You keep running from your fans.
Great show, guys. I really enjoyed Through the Desert, so that was fantastic. Thanks for Thad and Stuart for joining us too. It's been really great.
Well, thank you for nipping in. This is Dylan, my usual co-host, and whose hair is growing back slowly but surely. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at Global Star Party. We tweet out pictures from the Flickr group, we tweet out stuff about the show, and we're probably going to tweet out some Pluto stuff as well, and as that data rolls in, because Pluto is epic. You see, good things come in small packages. Well, except and
Fleeting glimpses of moon.
I was going to say I should just click on Grant's view as I say goodbye to our audience. You can find us on Google Plus as Global Star Party. Just type it in on Google Plus. You can find us there. We tweet out events. We put events up there and things like that. Little snippets from the shows, up and coming stuff. And you can also find us on the Flickr group. Again, Global Star Party. Please check it out. Even if you can't add photos to it, it is well worth a look. There's some really awesome photos being submitted by some fantastic people, and it's all about sharing the space, because space is awesome. Despite the clouds, we're currently looking at a view of the moon as it was a second ago because of the limitations of light speed, and shadows and valleys and mountains on another world. It may be a moon, but it's still a whole new world. I'd like to go hiking there one day, maybe with an oxygen pack or 3. Or maybe we should just terraform the moon. That would be awesome. And also, although then again, I suppose if the moon had clouds, we'd have had like 2 layers of clouds to fight. That would kind of be a horrible situation to worry about there.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
But I will stop waffling. Thank you everyone for joining us and watching the show live. Thank you to everyone that's joined me today to bring in great science knowledge, great pictures, and just some witty banter too. I'm very fueled on coffee right now, so I am going to stop the show and go and have another cup of coffee and then go to bed, because I'm weird like that and I like coffee before I go to sleep. So thank you all for joining us. Hopefully see you next week when it's the Eastern nighttime edition, so we should get some nighttime views from the other side of the world upside down. I'm going to put on insane amounts of pressure on Paul to have a clear sky and also find things that I want to look at on a whim. the powers of being a host. So thank you everyone for joining us, and good night and good morning wherever you are in the world.
Bye. Thank you.
Great stuff.
ya.
Bye.